Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, Bashim Chakodash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS to give us his truth and all his purity, and salutations to all you accomplishing this word throughout the four corners of the earth. This lesson will be touching this news that came out about the U.S. spent $21 trillion to build secret underground doomsday bunkers for elites, claims former official. Right, and the scriptures talk about the elites, hiding in caves when the Lord returns. And that just further proof that the Bible is true and that the elites know it. It says former U.S. housing official Catherine Austin Fitts has claimed that the government has secretly spent $21 trillion building underground bunkers to shelter the ultra wealthy during a catastrophic event. So, you don't spend all that money for no reason. That's because they're expecting the destruction to come. They know that what we're saying is true. The prophets, starting with the apostles, and the elders before them, they have been warning of the coming destruction, nuclear destruction of Babylon the Great. And also Esau's been prepping for that, right? And it says, former Bush administration official has made startling claims alleging that the United States government has built extensive underground network of bunkers worth $21 trillion. The bunkers, as the official said, were constructed from 1998 till 2015 and with unauthorized spending, according to a report. That's right. So if you can see 1998, why? Because back then, you had the apostles, you had, the whole school, basically teaching that, there's going to be the end around 2000, and it wasn't just our apostles that taught it. It was everybody back then that taught that. But guys try to use that to say that the apostles was false prophets. But guess what? The scriptures say that the day will come that you desire to see the Son of Man and you will not see it. So that was their prophecy fulfilled. But 1998 till 2015. So back then they heard the prophets, the apostles, the Israelites, teaching about the destruction coming in 2000. So they started in 1998. Started building them bunkers, and then, went on until 2015. So, Esau's locked in and ready, So, let's go to Blue Letter. Let's go to Amos chapter 9. This is Amos chapter 9, verse 2. It says, though they dig into hell, then shall mine hand take them. Though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down. Yeah, that's right. Though they dig into hell. Hell is the grave, right? When Yahweh Shah said through David, thou will not leave my soul in hell. Hell wasn't talking about the actual, realm where Satan dwells with a pitchfork. That's talking about the grave. So it says, though they dig into the hell, which is the grave or the ground, then shall mine hand take them. Though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down. Yeah, because they also have space stations. You have the dude from Virgin, the company. You have Elon Musk. They working on space stations, space retreats, space hotels. So as though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down. And though they can't hide themselves in top of Carmel, I will search and take them out thence. Yeah, that's right. That's because you have those bunkers. They be at mountains, under mountains or at mountaintops, because, that mountain is an extra layer, to cover the bunker, So it says, and though they hide themselves from my sight at the bottom of the sea, thence will I command the serpent and he shall bite them. So pretty much there's no way out, because when you go into that article, she basically spoke about, well, the whole interview, it was based off an interview, where she said that the bunkers run even under the oceans. So you have those underwater bunkers, right? So that shows you how true the scriptures is, man. So this is what the elites are attempting to do. Why? Because they're trying to get away from the judgment of the Most High, right? But the scriptures say, how does it go? It This is Psalms 139:7. It says, "Whither shall I go from thy spirit, and whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. And if I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me." That's right. So, no matter where we at, Yahweh Bashim Yashah knows our whereabouts. He knows our thoughts. He knows everything, man. The titles of the Most High, some of the titles is omnipotent, which means all powerful, and omnipresent, which means everywhere, everywhere at all times. So the Most High sees everything, man. You see, there's nothing that could be hid from the Most High. So the Most High knows where all them bunkers at, all them networks, all them different caves that Esau planned on hiding in. And he's going to send his servants, the children of Israel, as it is written, the saints is going to take the kingdom. So the saints going to go all over the earth and get these elites out of those bunkers to bring them to captivity, because that's the next stop for them, right? They will escape the destruction. And that's the truth, The ones that's here in this 21 trillion bunker network, they're not going to make it, because America is going to be totally wiped out. Scripture said not even root nor branch is going to be in this place. Not even the Arabian is going to pitch tent there, right? So, the elites that's wise, they're going overseas and bunkers overseas in Europe and Asia and Africa, Australia, right? So they won't escape that judgment, man. It says, 1 second. Slack, I had to handle something. But continuing on, Psalms 139, verse 11, it says, "If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. Yea, the darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as a day. The darkness and the light are both alike to thee." That's right. So there is no escaping Yahweh Bashim Yahshua, no matter where you at in the universe. Yahweh Bashim Yahshua knows everything. So then now let's go to the book. Matter of fact, let's get Revelation first. This is Revelation chapter 6. Is it 6 or 16? Okay, yep, 6. This is Revelation 6, and I'm going to start at 12. It says, "And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood." And what is that great earthquake that it's talking about? It's talking about the nuclear destruction that's going to cause the tectonic plates all over the earth to reel to and fro like a drunkard. This is Isaiah chapter 24, verse, I'm going to start at 17. It says, "Fear and the pit and the snare are upon thee, O inhabitant of the earth." Meaning what? The Most High's judgment is going to be unescapable. Fear and the pit and the snare. So all these people that's due for judgment, they're trapped up. It says, verse 18, "And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that cometh up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare." That's right. So there is no escaping. Once the Most High pulls your card up in the spirit realm, that's your time. There's no getting on a jet and escaping the missiles. There is no, hiding in a bunker or anything that'll save you from the destruction, right? It says, "For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake." The windows on high is talking about what? The sky. It's open. You got Trump talking about the Golden Dome, which is going to protect America from nuclear destruction. Well, guess what? That's not going to happen, man. Right? The scriptures say those missiles, they're not going to break their ranks. They're going to hit their mark. Right? So there is no shield that's going to protect America, man. The windows on high are open. Right? It says, "And the foundations of the earth do shake." It says, "The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly." That's because of the missiles. It's going to, cause that great earthquake, and that fire is going to dissolve the elements. Like it says in 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, the elements is going to melt with fervent heat. So the earth is going to cleanly dissolve this place. Let's see what dissolve means in the Hebrew. It says the Hebrew word there is parar. It says to break, frustrate, to break, violate. And the Lord is going to violate this place, man. The destruction that's coming is going to be overkill. To frustrate. What is the Lord going to frustrate? He's going to frustrate the elite's agenda. Make ineffectual. Yeah, the devices of the wicked is not going to prosper. This New World Order agenda is going to be successful in the beginning. But the Lord is not going to allow these elites to just have their way, and just live the end of their days, just crushing the world's population, especially the Israelites, with this RFID chip, with these dystopian measures, AI, the Lord is not going to allow that, man. The Lord created this earth for us to dwell in it, man, for us to live, for us to be free. We as Israelites are not going to be in bondage, man, right? The punishment of our iniquity is accomplished. So now it's time for this devil to go down and for us to come up. And the way he's going down is going to be astronomical, man. These warheads is going to be very hot, 200 million. It says to be frustrated, to be broken, to break to bits, shatter. Yeah, so the elements themselves are going to get broken down because, every element has a melting point, the elements on the periodic table, each one of them has a melting point, which some are higher than others. Some, it would take thousands and thousands of degrees to finally melt them, So the Lord's going to dissolve everything, man. The very air that we breathe, right? So it says the earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. That's right. So there is no escaping the judgment of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, right? The whole earth is going to feel this wrath, man. Ain't no safe haven that's going to, have you separate from the judgment that's coming to the earth, as if y'all going to be in y'all bunkers and not feel the earthquake, Everybody going to feel it, man. That's why it says every eye shall see Yahweh, and they're going to be in fear, man. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the hosts of the high ones that are on high and the kings of the earth upon the earth. So after the missiles hit, while they're in those bunkers, the Lord is going to send his servants, the 144,000, to go gather them up, because the kings of the earth upon the earth, because they're going to be in the bunkers, right? It says, and they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. So they're going to be gathered, the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom. So the elect are going to go all over the earth in those bunkers to get them up out of there, man, because they're going to be the first fruits of slavery. It says, after many days shall they be visited. That's right. So they're going to get put in the pits, those prisons, and then, brothers are going to go all over the earth gathering the rest of them heathens that remain. And then after that, we're going to visit them, beat them up, give them harsh tasks. They're going to have to clear up the Middle East region, starting with Israel, from all those dead bodies that's going to be there from World War III. That's going to be hard labor, man. Get rid of all the debris and clear up the land and then build. That's a lot, man. That's why the kingdom is going to take 1,000 years to build, It says back in Revelation chapter 6, verse 12, it says, and I beheld, and when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. That's the missiles, that great earthquake we just read about. And the sackcloth of hair and the moon became as blood. That's because of the fire, the smoke, the smoke is going to block out the sun, and, and one thing you see when there is actual smoke, like wildfires, the moon looks red in the sky because of the smoke. So it says, And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind, which is going into those missiles. They look like stars in the sky at night. A bright star just moving across the sky. And it's going to be in the arch fashion, you know? Like you see those the projected patterns, the projected trajectory, you know, where a missile gets shot. The reason they can intercept it is because of where it's shot from, and they could determine its the area that it's going to strike, you know. But the Lord is not going to allow any of those missiles to be destroyed, man. It says, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places, which is going into the destruction. The missiles, you know, pelting displaced off the face of the earth. You know, it's going to cause, you know, those mushroom clouds. That's what it's going into. And it's going to shift the tectonic plates, you know. You're going to have certain places that get swallowed up by tsunamis. You know, certain parts of the earth, the ground is going to crack open, you know, swallow whole islands or whole people, millions of people. It's going to get that bad, man. You know, new lands forming from volcano eruptions, underwater volcanoes, you know. That's why the scripture says it's going to be new heaven and a new earth, because this fire is going to reshape the earth, just like the flood reshaped the earth. It says, and the kings of the earth and the great men and the rich men and the chief captains and the mighty men and every bondman and every freeman hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? That's right. So they're going to hide themselves in those bunkers, those mountain bunkers, underground bunkers, underwater bunkers, you know, those space retreats, you know, they're going to be scattered all over the world. And the elect is going to gather them up, you know. But they're going to be so afraid, man. This is what they fear the most, Yahweh Shah's return. This is why Trump building that Golden Dome. That's just a cover up to build weapons in space to fight against Yahweh Shah. That's all it's all about, you know. This is Isaiah chapter 2, verse 10. It says, enter into the rock and hide thee in the dust for fear of the Lord Yahweh Shah and for the glory of his majesty. That's right. That fearful sight, man. So-called UFOs, the chariots of the Most High, coming in droves by the trillions, innumerable multitude of angels, the scriptures say, you know, invading this earth, every square inch of the sky covered with UFOs, and then this gigantic being, so-called black man sitting on the fathership. That's going to be a hell of a sight to see, man. So those kings of the earth, they're going to be hiding themselves in their bunkers. They're going to think they're safe, that we're not going to know where they're at, you know. It says the lofty looks of men shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of men shall be bowed down, and the Lord Yahweh Shah alone shall be exalted in that day. That's right. So this is the great humbling that's coming. Yahweh Shah coming is going to humble everybody, man. That's what man is going to realize, that they're nothing but dust, that you're nothing but a crumb, an ant, a mere insect, and that there is a God that judges the wicked, man. You know? It says, for the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon everyone that is proud and lofty, and upon everyone that is lifted up. And who's the proud and lofty? You know? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. The scriptures say to Esau, the pride of your heart have deceived you, man. You know? So the day of the Lord is mainly coming upon Esau and the heathens. That's why it says, Isaiah 34, going into the destruction in World War III, it says the day of the Lord, what does it say? It says, for his sword is going to be upon Edom, the people of his curse to judgment. You see? So it says, and upon everyone that is proud and lofty, and upon everyone that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low. And upon all the cedars of Lebanon that are high and lifted up, and upon all the oaks of Bashan, and upon all the high mountains, and upon all the hills that are lifted up, which is going into these different governments, those different countries that's exalted. You know, America, Russia, China, those European countries, those will be considered mountains, high mountains and exalted hills. You know, the G7s of the world, right? It says, and upon every high tower and upon every fenced wall. So that means there is no protection. There is no dome, golden dome that's going to protect you from that wrath. You know, it says, and upon all the ships of Tarshish and upon all pleasant pictures, and the loftiness of men shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of men shall be made low, and the Lord Yahushua alone shall be exalted in that day. That's right. So the world is going to know who the real king is, you know, who's the true ruler. Because right now, you know, the whole earth is fighting for, you know, hegemony. You know, they trying to take America out of the throne seat. And now you got China, Russia, and the BRICS nations. They're pushing for what they call in a multipolar world where the power is not just in the hands of Esau. They want it spread amongst themselves, you know, but that's not going to happen, man. The next rulers of the earth is Yahushua and his people, the Israelites, you know. That's why the scriptures say, why do the heathens rage, you know, and the people imagine a vain thing, and how the hills are leaping, you know, trying to basically offset the prophecies, trying to be the next ones to rule. The scriptures say Israel is going to rule forever, man. The kingdom shall not be left to no other people, right? So it says, and the idols he shall utterly abolish, and they shall go into the holes of the rocks and into the caves of the earth, for fear of the Lord Yahushua and for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. That's right. So, hey, man, they're going to seek that protection. You know, you're going to have people dying of heart attacks, people killing themselves, you know, just off the sight of Yahushua, man. You know, people running and scattering, you know, just like how you might lift something up and there's mad insects under it or roaches or whatever, and they all scatter, man. You know, that's how it's going to be from the outside view. Yahushua coming to the earth, everybody trying to run away from him, getting into caves that they know, going into their basements, hiding under cars, you know. But it's going to be futile, right? So, hey, man, you know, that was pretty much it on this lesson, you know. I hope this was edifying. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashim Yashah Bashim Hakodash. Double honor to the apostles of GMS to give us his truth and all the spirituality, and salutations to all you Akim pushing this word. Shalom.